Hey, greetings class. I'm going to make a walkthrough video for how to use SPSS to calculate descriptive stats. In particular, central tendency, so mode, median, mean, variability, range, variance, and standard deviation. And then I'll show you how to do z-scores as well. So I'm just going to make one video to do this because it's really easy and it's really quick using SPSS. So if you're just working on one of those assignments, if you're just looking for central tendency, or you're just looking for variability, or you're just looking for z-scores, then you can fast forward to the part that you need. But I want to show you how to do that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get SPSS open. And I made a mistake last time. This is my second attempt at making this video because I forgot how many pop-up windows SPSS has, and I have to click on each one and share each one at a time. So let me share my screen, speaking of, and I'll go to SPSS. And here we go. Looks like this on my screen. And give it a second to pop up. There we go. So let me see. Let me check something. I stop sharing, and then I want to share my screen. Okay, cool. It looks like it worked this time. So right now it's sharing this small window. When you first open SPSS, you get this window that pops up first. And there's a lot of helpful stuff in here. We're not going to use it today, but there is cool stuff in here. Like you can grab a data set from a database. It has all kinds of files in it there if you want to practice using different types of SPSS procedures. You can get help and support. There's tutorials to teach you how to do things. So this is all super handy. However, I am going to have you enter in your data by hand because I think that's a good thing to practice too. So we're going to do that by hand. So we don't need this stuff at all. So I'm saying is you can just close this window. All right. So if we close this window here, boom, gone. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing now because I don't know what you're seeing. Let me double check. This is the mistake I made last time. I was talking about a screen, but you couldn't see it. So here's where we want to be. That's better. Yeah, we want to see this spreadsheet. This is SPSS. Now, the first thing I want you to notice when you have this grid open in front of you is that there's two different views. You really have two files open here. There's your data view and your variable view is what they're called. If you look on the bottom left, you'll see those tabs. One says data view and one says variable view in the bottom left of your screen. And you want to start on variable view. That's where we want to start, right? We're going to start there because in variable view, this is where you enter all the characteristics or important information about the variables that you're creating for SPSS. So I'm going to click on variable view. You guys go ahead and do that too for following along. Click on variable view. You can tell down here in the bottom left is a blue line underneath whichever view you're looking at. So we're looking at variable view now. And if you click in one of those, click on the number 1 right next to where it says name, and it should like highlight all these cells in gray for you. So the variable view, the reason I had to do that is because in variable view, you read this from left to right. So it goes horizontal. So you're going to put in information about your variables one at a time. And you might have a problem that has like multiple variables. We're just going to deal with one. So it's not that big of a deal. Now, the variables that we're going to deal with, I pulled up some data from a study from a buddy of mine, and he studies reaction at a time. Reaction at a time. No, he studies the reaction time and mistakes that people made in driving simulators when they're under the influence of different types of chemical substances. So he gave me some data that he got from last week from 16 participants of San Jose State. And what they did basically is that they were under the influence of cannabis and they go through a driving simulator, and he keeps track of like how many mistakes they make driving, but also how long it takes them to react to dangers in the environment. So he gave me was their reaction time in seconds. And we're going to enter that as our example into variable views. So if we're keeping track of driving time, right here underneath name in the cell here, number 1 name, we're going to put in reaction time there. So just type that in. Oh, microphone's in the way. And the thing about SPSS with variable names is that it doesn't like spaces. So you might notice in mine, I wrote reaction, then I used underscore time. But if you just put a space there, let me show you what it does. So unless they fix this with this edition, let's see, reaction space time. If I hit enter, Yeah, it's like you can't do that. Your variable contains an illegal character. That illegal character is a space. Get out of here, spaces. We don't have time for you. So we're going to do reaction underscore time. And now if we hit enter, it'll fill in by default. It'll fill in the cells to the right of the name of our variable, right? So type numeric, width 8, decimals 2, and so on. So a couple of things just to check here. Check your work for this variable. For type, make sure it says numeric. It's the only type of data that we're going to use in our class. So if it ever says something else, for some reason other than numeric, you can go in and change it. So if you click inside the cell with the word numeric, you see all these options pop up like comma, dot, scientific notation, date, dollar, and so on. Well, we don't want any of those. We're only going to use numeric. So if it's on some other one for some reason, you can go in here and change it, put it back to numeric. And the only other thing for now that we need to pay attention to is underneath measure where it says unknown. I want to bring this to your attention because this will be important later in the class. So if it's left unknown, it's going to treat every variable as interval and ratio. And that's perfect actually for our situation. We want that. It is, interval ratio data, but just for practice, let's go ahead and tell SPS that explicitly. So if you click in the box where it says unknown, you'll see you get this drop down menu and you can select nominal, ordinal, or scale. So nominal, of course, for nominal data, just names of things or categories. Ordinal, things are in rank order, or you have highly skewed data. But for us, we're going to use scale. So interval and ratio data are both encapsulated by this term scale in SPSS. So leave it at scale. And that's all we have to do to set up this variable. It's not a lot to it, right? All we really did was give it a name here. We gave it a name. We told SPSS that it's interval ratio data. Perfect. So we're good to go. Now, if you go down to your bottom left, where you see the tab data view, that's where we want to be. So click data view, and you'll see the little blue line goes underneath the tab on the bottom left for data view. And the variable we created should be up here at the top. I'm going to stretch this out a little bit because I like to be able to read the whole name. Okay, now what's different about data view compared to variable view is, remember, variable view, we read it horizontally, left to right, but data view is in a column. So we're going to enter in all the numbers vertically here, right? So we're going to put all the numbers for reaction time here. And I have the data from 16 participants. And so I'm going to put in their data right here, right in these 16 spaces. But I have it in a Word document. So let me stop sharing this screen just for a sec, and I'll show you the data that I have in a Word document in case you're following along. So let me go back here, my share screen, and now you should be looking over here. There we go. So here we go. Here's what I got for my buddy. Reaction time from 16 participants last week. It says in seconds. So I don't know the details, like what it was they were reacting to necessarily. I don't know, something that would happen in a driving simulator. I'm guessing something ran out into a street, or there was a stoplight, or I don't know. But you can see it ranges from, looks like the lowest one is a 1.5. So it took this person 1.5 seconds to react. And then we've got is the highest one? Yeah, 4.5 over here. That's a very big difference, I think, when it comes to reaction time. But we want to take all this data that we have here and put it into SPSS. And since this data is already in a table where all the numbers are isolated within their own cells, then we can just copy and paste this entire thing. So if I just highlight it and I'm going to do a Control C, should be able to just paste this into SPSS. If you can't do that, then you can just type these all in one at a time into SPSS. So I'm going to stop sharing this screen. We're going to go back to SPSS. There we go. So here we go. Let's see if it works. Now I'm going to try to paste it here. If it doesn't work, then I'll just type it for you. Boom. Okay, it worked. Cool. So I'm just double checking to make sure we got 16 scores here. And yeah, we do. We got 16 scores. So all the data transferred over from that Word document. Easy. I like it when it comes together like that. So now we have our data into our data view. We told SPSS about our variable. Now let's go up here to the top menu where we have all these options like file, edit, view, data, transform, analyze, and so on. We want to go to analyze. So this is where we're going to go most of the time. After we put our numbers in, we want to do the analysis. So click on Analyze, and the big drop down menu pops up here. And you have all these different options for different types of analysis that the software will do for us. And we'll get to those later in the class. But for now, we're working on descriptive statistics. So go to Analyze, down to descriptive statistics. And then I think, I'll show it to you this way. So to get all the measures of central tendency and variability that we want, we can see them all on one screen if we go to frequencies. So go to Analyze, descriptive stats, and frequencies. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take the variable that we created and move it over here to this box on the right. So we only have one variable because we only created one. But let's say we created like 100 variables for some really complex study, then we would have 100 different items to select over here in this box on the left. But the ones that we want SPSS to operate on, those are the ones we move over here to this box on the right. So let's move reaction time over. Well, check this out. You have options. You can drag it over. Ooh. You can double click it. Or you can use this arrow right in the middle. There we go. Either way, right, or any of those ways, move it over to the right. And then we're going to get, just for the heck of it, let's click on this little box that says Create APA Style Tables. That's handy. This is something I wish existed when I was in college. It's been so nice to have some software create the tables for you. But we'll click that. And now to get the information we want, we're going to click on the statistics button. So you click on statistics, and then you have this new window pops up, the frequency statistics window, and we can select what we want from this window. And we want to get the median, the mean, the median, the mode. And then we're going to go down to dispersion. And by the way, dispersion is another word for variability, right? It really has to do with how spread out your scores are. In this case, it means how much are they spread out or dispersed around the mean. And so we're going to get standard deviation, variance, and range, because we talked about those three measures of dispersion or variability. And we got our median and our mean and our mode. That's what we talked about in regard to central tendency. So click continue. And if we want to get a graph, the easiest way to do that is just click on charts. And from here, we can select what kind of graph we want. So it's the default is set to none, so it won't give you a graph. But you can get a bar chart, a pie chart, a histogram. Let's do a histogram. So we'll get a nice histogram. If you want SPSS to put the normal curve on the histogram, so you should see where the normal curve should be, you can click that too. And then we'll hit continue. And that's all we got to do, right? From here, it's going to give us an output, new windows. It's going to pop up a new window for us once we hit OK. And then I'm going to have to switch my screens again so you can see it. So let's hit OK. Cool. Now for me, it popped up, it gave me a brand new window, but I know you can't see it in my video. So hold on just a sec. I'm going to stop sharing. And now I'm going to go to the output, which looks like this. How easy is that, right? Let me look at this first table. We have the mean, median, mode, where you can see the numbers here. So the mean is a 3.0625. Median is a 3. Mode is a 3. It gives us the standard deviation, variance, and range. So the SD, 0.87321. The variance, 0.763. And the range of 3. And then look at that. It gives a nice graph too. How easy was that? That's like 2. Really, we call it 3 if you're thinking ahead to chapter, what is it, chapter 6? We make graphs. Look at that, we just made one. So it's kind of like 3 chapters in like 5 minutes worth of work on SPSS. Okay, now there's one more thing I want to show you. So I'm going to stop sharing this screen and go back to, there we go, to our spreadsheet or our grid in SPSS, because we didn't grab our Z-scores yet. So let me show you how to do that. Now the Z-scores, what we want to do, of course, we're going to take all of these like raw scores here that I copied and pasted them into SPSS. We want to change each of these scores into a Z-score, right? So 3 is great, but we want to communicate that as a Z-score. So to do that, we're going to go to Analyze again. So same place we went last time, Analyze, go down to Descriptive Statistics. Now this time, instead of going to frequencies, that's where we went to get the central tendency and the variability. We're going to go to Analyze, Descriptive Statistics, Descriptives. Okay, now we get a new pop-up window. In this pop-up window, you want to take reaction time, move it over to the right in your variables box. And we want to click this little box underneath. It says Save Standardized Values as Variables. You want to click that. And what that means is, first of all, a standardized value, that's a z-score, right? It says it's going to save that as a variable. I mean, it's going to create a brand new variable column on your spreadsheet or your grid for SPSS. And it's going to put it right next door. I'll show you. So if we hit OK, at first it takes you to this output. So I'll just show you like what to expect, right? It takes you here, takes us back to this window. This doesn't really do much for us. It gives us this little table at the bottom, but we already had all this information anyway. It's not that useful. But if we go back to our spreadsheet, now we have this brand new variable here. See its name, Z reaction times. These are the Z scores for the variable reaction time. And so it put them right next door. Look how handy that is. So, a score of 3 seconds reaction time is a negative 0.07157 as a Z score. And so you can see all the Z scores here in this column to the right. And they should be, right next to the number they correspond with. So the raw score of 4 is a Z score of 1.07362. How easy is that, right? There it is. So now we've got like 4 chapters of work done, really in SPSS in maybe like 5-10 minutes. Pretty simple stuff. But of course, the reason I do this is because I want you to know what these things mean, not just how to calculate them. Okay, now the other thing I wanted to point out, and the last thing is that as I was toggling back and forth between like sharing my screen with you, whether it was this screen here, which is the spreadsheet, or sharing the output screen with you, that should let be a reminder that if you want to save these, like to your OneDrive, your PC OneDrive, you have to save them as individually as 2 separate files. So if you just try to save all your work from this screen, from this grid, it's not going to save your output. It's only going to save your variable information and the data that you entered in. So it'll save your data view and variable view. It won't save your output. Same thing if you save from the output screen. Again, let me show you what I mean by that. So if you save from this screen, from the output screen, it's only going to save the output. It's not going to save your data view or your variable view information. So make sure you save both of those individually if you want to keep them both. If you just want information from the output, then just save the output, right? Also, you can always copy and paste, this information. Yeah, let me show you that too. Why not? So if I right click on this graph that we made, you can do a couple things. See, it says copy as. Let's copy it as an image. And then let's say I want to post that somewhere, or I want to post it, I guess. I'd say I want to paste it somewhere, like a Word document. Let's see if this will work. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to right click. Let's go to paste options. Hey, check it out. There's my graph, right? So you can paste onto a Word document or, a Google Doc, whatever you like to use. You can just copy and paste from your output onto a Word document. Easy, huh? Pretty cool. I hope you found that useful, and I'll continue to make these as we go through the class more. If you're working way ahead, then give me a sec. Give me some time to get all the SPSS videos made, but I'll make an SPSS video for every procedure that we go over, just like I did for the Excel videos. Okay, guys, have a good one. I will talk to you soon.